So another weekend and the tide keeps on rolling. This time, Coach Kalen DeBoer in Alabama reach back into the transfer portal and get a big-time win for the special teams. As former Lou Groza Award winner Graham Nicholson transfers from Miami of Ohio to the Alabama Crimson Tide, and today we need to break it down. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill, I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited about this edition? And let me know what else you'd like to see added via the transfer portal. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. And that's not just relegated for me. Those interactions, they matter a lot to content creators like myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But having said all that, let's just jump right into this. And Alabama has been active in the transfer portal, with this being edition number 10, and every single one of those editions I think should excite people. But today we need to break down the newest member of that transfer portal haul, former Lou Groza Award winner Graham Nicholson, transferring from Miami of Ohio to the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I know Alabama fans everywhere are intrigued about this, because after last season, after you lose Will Reichard, there was a major question in terms of who takes over for Reichard. Reichard was an unbelievable asset to the Crimson Tide, and one that I know Alabama fans were going to miss dearly. Luckily, you get a kicker that was also really, really good this past season. I know there was a lot of Alabama fans thinking Reichard should have won the Lou Groza Award, and that's a conversation for a different day. But what we can say is that you got a guy that was in that same ballpark. You got a guy that was absolutely a difference maker for his teams, and the numbers back it up. He was 27 of 28 from field goals, 10 of 11 from field goals for 40 yards out. His longest was a 52, and he also had 73 kickoffs where 52 of them were touchbacks. All of those stats credit to ESPN. So I know Alabama fans have been asking a ton about the special teams. Who's going to take over for Will Reichard? Will it be Talty? Who is going to be the guy? And after A-Day, I think there were even more questions in terms of special teams depth. But this is why this is such a fantastic addition. Anytime you can answer questions, I think you're absolutely on the right track. We've had so many conversations about this, that in football, and especially in roster building, it's all about answering questions. And one thing we must acknowledge about this current staff is they haven't been there 6 months. So they are still figuring out this team, and they're doing so really well, in my opinion. They have made some really nice additions via the transfer portal. This is just the latest one. And I know Alabama fans everywhere can't wait for the season to come around, but now it's even better when you have a field goal kicker such as Nicholson, who has proven to be an asset in college football. Because yes, I think there's some hype about who Alabama could have replaced Will Reichard from, but getting somebody who's proven, getting somebody that has experience, that's one of the things that we look at in the transfer portal and look at as a compelling factor. And it really bridges the question to what else Alabama could add in. We've talked time and time again that offensive line depth is an area where even Coach Kalen DeBoer acknowledged, like, hey, we like the talent we have, but we'd like more depth. And I think that showed in the spring game where you had some guys banged up. You had some guys such as Brailsford not out there. And even though I really love the talent and how it's developing, you want to make sure you have enough depth, especially at the offensive line. The tricky part comes about whenever you're talking about transfer portal additions via the offensive line. Those guys can be a little bit more tricky to find than some other positions, but we're going to be sure to keep up with that. The other area I know Alabama has been looking for is defensive back. Once again, the same argument we just talked about for offensive line kind of carries over. Where when I look at the defensive back depth for Alabama, I love the talent they have. I've continued to call it Nick Saban's parting gift. The guys he got in that final recruiting class before he retired, because every single one of those guys has next level upside. And I think a lot of them are going to be on the field sooner rather than later and contributing to massive plays. But the only thing they don't have is a ton of experience. That's why Malachi Moore coming back, in my opinion, is so key, because he can be a coach on the field. And I've talked about this time and time again. There's a reason why in college, most of your tutors are peers as opposed to professors, because it's easier to digest information from someone who's talking to you as opposed to talking at you. And in a lot of situations, that relationship between a professor and a peer can almost seem like you're being talked at instead of talked to, even if that's not the case. That's one of the reasons why I think it's so valuable being able to add in experienced players via the transfer portal. But the question is, as much as I like Alabama's talent in that position, they don't have the experience that I think Coach Kalen DeBoer and Coach Womack would like to have in that room. What moves will they make? Well, we've already seen one move, a guy they offered, Greedy Vance, commit to USC, and I made a video about this last week. If you didn't get the opportunity to check that out, be sure to go back after this, check that video out, where I kind of laid down my thoughts on that situation, and that can kind of answer the question we're posing right now. The question now is, where do you go from here? Will you add someone in? The Western Kentucky cornerback is out there, and I think he has got a massive upside, but I think Alabama is waiting, biding their time, seeing if some big names jump in the transfer portal, and who knows, maybe this week will give us those fireworks. Y'all already know, I'm going to be keeping up with all of this. Can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments, let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.